everybody. So Jessica here, my pronouns are she, her, and this is going to be a really relaxing restorative class today with a focus on the hips. So we're not gonna go through a whole lot of postures, but we are gonna be holding them for a little bit longer. So I guess this is kind of like a yin restorative class. We're gonna be holding postures for a while, but we'll be fully supported in the class. So if you have any tension in the hips or the low back, this is a great class for you. You're gonna leave this class feeling like super rested and centered and ready to take a nap. So we'll need a couple of blocks for this class and a blanket. And anything else you wanna use. If you don't have blocks, you can get really creative. So grab your things and I'll see you in just a moment. Hi guys, so today for our practice, we are gonna start reclined, so lying down on our back. And we'll need a couple blocks and a blanket for our restorative practice today. So let's make our way down onto the mat. I'm laying all the way down in whatever position is comfortable, so you can extend the legs or have the knees bent. And we're just gonna start to soften the body a little bit, giving yourself space. So take your awareness to the shoulder blades and let them soften and kind of release, and notice how that opens up the heart center a little bit. So let them fall back to the ground. Letting your body just be, allowing it to be heavy and supported by the earth. And taking a couple of breaths here, deepening on the next inhale. And think of bringing the navel back to the low back on the exhale as you release. On the next inhale, palms are down at your sides, facing down. We're going to inhale and lift the arms overhead. Exhale, bring the arms down. And find this a few more times at your pace. Inhaling to lift up. Maybe the backs of the hands touch the ground. And exhaling, drawing the arms back down at the sides. Really reaching through the fingertips on the inhale. And exhaling to release. Let's try that one more time. Very good. So back at center here, let's draw the knees up towards the ceiling and the feet down. If you're not already there, walk the heels a little bit closer to the glutes here. And we're just gonna lift up the hips a little bit and scoot them off to the right side. So your torso will feel a little bit diagonal. And then we're gonna roll onto the left side, drawing the knees together. Maybe the hand comes to the top of the knee here, and keeping the shoulder blades rooted down. Now this is a good place to bring a block or a blanket between the knees or underneath the knees. You can kick out this top foot to reach the ground. Really just looking for a nice gentle twist in the body. We'll take maybe another minute here, just allowing the body to release and to expand into the stretch with each breath. Let that top leg be heavy. Focus on navigating that breath to the spaces in the body that need that attention. And notice how the full inhale feels a little bit different here in this twist. Maybe it feels different up in the rib cage. if you have a hand on the knee here, release it. And we'll come out of this by gently lifting that top knee up, rolling back onto the hips here, and then scooting the hips back to the middle, back to center. From our back here, we're going to walk the heels again closer into the body, lift up the hips, offset them over to the left side this time, and drop the knees down to the right side. Yes, opening up that left hand if it feels good. And breathing and softening and noticing the spaces that are tight, that are unsure. And offer them some guidance with the breath, some support. You're in a safe space here, you're protected, you're listening to your body, you're moving in a way that makes sense and is sustainable. Notice that top leg getting heavier as it relaxes, pulling you a little bit deeper into the stretch. And if you have any tweaking on the back, you can release out of this a bit and maybe try it again. Do you guys feel that creeping up into the hip flexor now? Noticing the way the sensation kind of moves around the body as you acclimate. We'll start to come out of this. Again, releasing that top leg, bringing it up towards the sky, rolling onto the hips in the back, and scooting yourself back to the middle. Extending the legs here, and we're going to interlace the fingers overhead. So interlace the fingers overhead, bring the arms down here, and we're going to find a crescent shape here. So we can start by walking our feet over to the right side. And I like to keep the foot on the left, or on the right side rather, grounded. And I like to take the opposite leg and kind of plant it on top. And then we can start with the upper body by just kind of moving the arms over to the right side. And again, getting into that stretch will take about a minute here. Let the body be free, let the belly flop out of the leggings if that's what's going on. Just be. And we'll start to come back to center here, so sliding the arms back to middle, and then scooting the legs back to the center, and we'll find that on the other side. So walking the legs out to the left foot roots down, maybe the right comes on top, interlace the fingers overhead, and start to pull the arms over to the left side this time. Keeping that breath fluid and moving and adjusting as necessary here. Now we'll start to come back to center here. Nice and gently sliding the arms overhead back to the middle and walking the feet out. And then bringing the soles of the feet down to the ground again here, walking the heels a little bit closer. Arms come out, and we're just gonna do the windshield wiper motion with the legs here just to kind of reset, give the quads some love. Very good. From here, we're gonna come up to a seated position. So take your time making your way up. And we're gonna start with legs nice and wide here. So taking just a moment, finding your sits bones under your seat here. So sometimes you just need to kind of like move the flesh under the thighs back, and then you'll feel those touch points underneath the hips. We're gonna sit up nice and tall here. I'm gonna use some props. So if you'd like to join me, you can use a pillow here, bolster. I'm just gonna bring my blanket on top of my blocks here. Let's make them higher. There we go. This makes a nice makeshift bolster for some postures. So from here, we're gonna sit up nice and tall. You know the deal, pull the spine up, shoulders release down the back, chin is tucked. Inhale the arms out and up. And exhale, we'll start to fold forward here, hinging at the hips. And if you need to kind of make some space in your body, you can pull the thighs back, you can squish the tummy forward, and find a comfortable rest here. We're not looking to max out. We're just looking for some sensation that we can breathe through and rest in. So if you can come out like way further and be comfortable, then cool. But if you can come out further and you're like holding your breath and making faces, come in a little bit. You're gonna ease into this. This is restorative. So just kind of hanging out here, keeping the toes flexed up. It does a couple of things. It helps with the stretch along the inner thigh, but it tightens the muscles around your kneecaps to keep them stable. So find that awareness in the feet. Relax the upper body down onto the ground or your props, and draw the face down. Find stillness for a few more moments here. And if it feels good to kind of come a little deeper into this, maybe walk the elbows forward a little bit. Keep breathing. Soften the face. Soften the shoulders too. Just kind of relax the entire upper body. Let's find 2 more breaths here. And our last breath. Very good. Start to walk yourself up here, and we'll stay seated. But let's draw the right leg in this time and keep the left extended. So we can draw that left leg a little more forward instead of having it out super wide. Really up to you, just what feels good in your body. So again, we'll start up standing here. Or not standing, sitting nice and tall rather. Then I'll figure out how I want to use my props, if I want to use them at all. So I'm just going to set them off to the side. And we're just going to extend this left arm alongside this leg here. So if that means you're grabbing with both hands, if that feels good in your body, hold it there, or you can just do the one hand. I like to bring the opposite hand to the opposite knee, and kind of get a little bit of a lower back action on the right side here. So just find what works best. And if you can't grab your leg or your ankle, if it's out of reach, just bring your arm up to a prop and reach out as far as feels good for you. So lots of variations and options here. And soften that low back, Soften the upper body. And we'll find this on the other side. So taking your time with this transition. Bring that left foot in this time, extend the right. Right arm comes down and find your variation on this stretch here. Check in for space here. Maybe you can come a little deeper, maybe not. Maybe you back out a little bit. And we'll start to come back to center. So slowly slide back through the middle. And we're going to bring our feet together for a bound angle. So take your time. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together. The knees are going to fall out. This gets more intense the closer your feet are to your body. So if you feel tight in the hips or you feel like you're like really rounding through the spine here, slide the feet away. If you're still rounding through the spine, bring a blanket or a block up under your hips. That's going to help lengthen through the spine, that space there. So find what works for you. Sits bones are connected with your seat here. Pull the spine tall. Hands come to the ankles, or you can wrap them underneath the feet, interlacing them. Big inhale. And exhale, start to fold forward here. And we want to use this leverage with our feet in our hands or ankles in our hands to help pull that chest down a little more. Maybe the elbows rest on the knees or the inner thighs. And the idea here is to have the head pointed towards the feet. So relax the neck and the head down. And although your spine is curved here, it's curved all the time anyway, try to keep it as long as you can. So again, be aware if you're really hunching over and pressing the shoulder blades out, or if you're pulling that torso down. You want to go for the down motion. Kind of same thing with flexing our toes to protect our knees. Keeping the spine as long as possible protects the low back a bit and helps us stretch it, build some integrity there. A few more breaths here. Very good. Start to release the hands. Come back to center. Oh, let's bring our legs forward and our hands behind us and just kind of kick the knees up a little bit to get the blood flowing through the legs. Very good. Let's come to tabletop position from here. So we're going to be on hands and knees for a bit. Obviously, this is a restorative class, so we're holding postures a little bit longer than we might regularly. So even if you have good knees, we're going to be on them for a while, and I want you to be able to get into the hips. So I recommend a blanket under the knees if you're on a hard surface. That'll just help you to be present, to get any awareness out of the knees. So before we get into these postures, just being in tabletop, I'm going to draw the blanket up underneath the knees here, and then crawl on top. Yes, that's nice. All right. So finding your tabletop position here. I'm just going to breathe through cat-cow, just a few, nothing crazy. So inhale, drop the belly, tailbone curves up, pressing the ground away, lifting the chest up and forward. Exhale, rounding through the spine. Tuck the tailbone, chin to chest. You know the deal. Inhale, cow. And exhale, navel to spine, press up. All right, finishing up the last one here. We'll come back to a neutral spine and tabletop position. And let's walk the hands over to the right side of the mat. We're going to step up with the left foot for a lunge. So finding some momentum, maybe extending that left foot back. Big inhale. And exhale, stepping it forward. If you didn't come all the way up, get it up there. Heel toe the foot. Find your blocks or frame your front foot with your hands if that feels good for you. I'm going to stay on my blocks here. And again, I'm going to find a long spine here. So just kind of sitting in this posture, knee is protected, we're feeling good there, so we can really focus on the hips here. So firmly root down through that front foot. And if you feel like your body is like in the way, it's squished up against the thigh, kind of shimmy it to the inside of that thigh here. Give yourself that space. You can even move this front foot forward and out a little bit. And then once we feel good here, we've had a few breaths here, let's shift the hips forward a little bit. So think of tucking that tailbone under, sending the hips forward. Then I'm going to make my blocks a little bit taller. So if you're here and you still feel crunched up, you can bring both hands to the inside of the leg. That's absolutely fine. Just depends on how you feel in your hips and your body. And maybe try to move forward a little bit more. You want to think of being on the top of the kneecap versus like directly on top of it. So if you have that space to slide into this, let's take a moment to get there. Drop those hips down if you can. Get a little bit deeper here. And let's start to shift the hips up and back. We're going to extend through this front leg to find a half splits. So I'm going to slide my heel up a little bit further, straighten or lengthen through that front leg. Press that heel down and then kind of send the hips back a little bit so that the toes point up. You can even take your 2 fingers and just kind of guide it back. Spine is long here. And then maybe you start to kind of fold over, thinking of drawing the forehead down towards the knee. Staying connected to that breath. Staying still is one of the hardest parts of our practice. This is the mental part of the exercise. On the next inhale, we're going to move back into that lunge. So taking your time, sending everything forward again, sitting into that hip one last time. And then if your hands are not in the inside of the foot, let's place the hands to the inside of the foot here. And let's create a little more space. We're going to come into like a lizard lunge here. So I just moved my foot out and up a little bit to give my body space. And from here, you can come down onto your forearms. You can come down however you want. You can stay here. You can bring forearms down to the blocks or to the ground. And sometimes rolling onto the outside of the front foot feels good in the hips and gives you space, so you can try that variation if you'd like. And we're just going to take a few moments here, starting to build up a little bit of heat. And let that knee fall open. Let yourself be supported. Really lean into the blocks if you're using them or the ground. Send the breath to the hip, wherever you're feeling it. Last breath here. Let's inhale, come back onto the hands here. And from here, we're gonna make our way into a pigeon pose. So it's a little bit tricky, but you can do this. I believe in you. We're gonna walk the hands in the blocks and move them away. And you can kind of like heel toe this foot from the left side of the mat all the way to the right side. And then I like to pick the foot up actually and kind of slowly, using my hands, guide my weight down onto that shin. Lengthen the back leg back even further. And then I'm gonna use a block up underneath my hip flexor because I could use the space. Yes, I recommend you do the same. You can shove a blanket under there as well, anything you have. We'll start by sitting up tall here. And on the exhale, find your forward fold. So this is more like a sleeping pigeon, I guess, technically. So if the forearms come down to the ground comfortably, great. You can use props here as well. The idea for restorative postures is that your body is fully supported, even if the stretches are intense. So you're not forcing anything. Because let me tell you, we know this posture is intense. But if you've got your props, you've got your blanket under the knee, you've got your hips supported, you just have to breathe through the intensity. There's no pain there, hopefully. If you have any knee issues, we can find this on our back in a figure 4. So if you are crawling out of this right now because you're over it, just come onto the back and bring the left ankle to the top of the right knee. And then you could hug that knee in close to your body or just kind of have it elevated off the ground, both feet off the ground. That works just as fine. And letting everything melt down into the ground here. Noticing any messages your body's sending you right now. Maybe your brain is like, no, stop this right now. And this is part of the practice, right? Kind of understanding the difference between resistance and pain, or strong sensation and pain, feelings and actual fear. Let's take another breath here. Inside out. Bring the palms down here. Start to peel yourself up. Coming out of pigeon can be not very graceful. So the way I do it is I curl the back toe under and I press my weight forward into my palms. Then I just kind of shimmy onto that front knee and slide the foot back. So you can try that to transition out of it, or you can just fall back onto the left hip. It does not matter. Making your way back to a tabletop posture here, and just taking a moment, dropping the head down. And we'll find that same sequence on the other side. So walking the hands over to the left side of the mat this time, maybe even off the mat like mine, extending that right leg. Big inhale, exhale, step it all the way through. Take your time getting set up. And we're gonna hang out in this lunge. So again, hands are framing the foot, or they're both on the inside of the foot. Spine is long, weight is in the back, knee, in the hips and in the palms here. Oh, excuse me. Taking a moment, just getting used to the sensation, and then maybe pressing forward a little more in the hips, coming onto the top of the back knee. And the next inhale, we'll start to find that half splits. So start to send the hips up and back, lengthening through that front leg. Really pressing the heel down, flexing the toe up, and sending that hip back. Spine starts long, and then you can fold it down if you'd like. Relaxing the torso. Keeping that foot flexed, breathing into the hamstrings. And keep the hips elevated. Sometimes it's easy to send the hip all the way back down and it takes away from the stretch that we're going for. So we're shifting the hips back, but only a little bit. Just enough to lengthen that front leg. One more breath. And inhale, start to shift back into this lunge. Yes. Take a breath or two here. Send the hips forward. And then we'll bring the hands to the middle, to the inside of the foot, and heel toe this right foot out and up. So we're gonna take a moment to kind of sit in this lizard lunge, and then option to come down onto the forearms in any way that feels nice to you. So taking your time, testing it out, maybe rolling to the outside of that front foot. Relaxing the head down, maybe close the eyes. And if that hip wants to fall out to the left side, let it, or the knee rather. Keep that breath full. The sensation starts to get really strong. Focus on that breath and relax the muscles. And the next inhale, start to come up to the hands here. Take a moment and we're gonna find our sleeping pigeon on this side here. So again, finding your way to get there. Maybe you heel toe this foot to the opposite side of the mat, which I'm sure looks pretty funny. And then taking our weight into our hands, coming down onto that shin, extending that back leg nice and long. Block up underneath the right hip here. We'll sit up nice and tall. And exhale, find your way down, find your sleeping pigeon here. And notice, does this side feel a little easier, a little more intense? Making sure you're breathing through whatever you're feeling. Honoring your emotions and your physical body through the breath, through acknowledgement. Relax the face. Soften the glutes, or let yourself melt into the mat. Find one more breath here. And we'll bring the palms down to the mat. Lift ourselves up. Curl the back toe under and press the body weight into the palms. Slide the foot from underneath you and walk the knees back. Tabletop position, we made it. Let's find a quick child's pose here. So, moving your props out of the way. Take the knees nice and wide, maybe the big toes touch. Lay the torso down. Head comes down. On the next inhale, let's start to lift ourselves up here, pressing into the forearms and the palms. And then let's do a nice little stretch on the feet and get into the quads a little bit. So we're going to sit back onto the heels. I like to have a blanket under my feet here. It helps them to feel better in this posture. You can skip this and just find a comfortable seat if your knees are not having it today. My knees are usually not having it, so I use blocks right up under the seat, and that can be a little bit tricky to get the right positioning, but once you get it, it's nice and supportive. So take your time here, sit back, chest forward, take 5 deep breaths here. Very good. Start to open the eyes. And we're going to find our Shavasana from here. So taking your time, coming onto your back. Maybe bringing something under the head. And find whatever version of Shavasana is good for you today. Taking up the space that you need, allowing the feet to roll out if they're extended, and allowing the breath to just do its thing, breathing naturally. Maybe the breath is a little deeper naturally right now. Maybe there's some parts of your body that are warm now or buzzing with sensation and you're very aware of them. Just kind of notice. Draw your attention inward to the body. And just kind of notice what's stirring, what's buzzing. Soften that face. Reaches the end of our practice together. I hope that you feel nice and restored in your body and a little more open and free in your hips. And I hope to see you again next time on the mat. I'd love to read your comments, so if you have any feedback or suggestions on classes you want to see from me or anything like that, you can always leave a comment below and I will definitely see it. And again, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day.